Could the Vikings trade for Orlando Brown Jr. be on the horizon? Well, if not the Vikings, for some other team it is. Ian Rappaport tweeted out earlier today that Steelers free agent left tackle Alejandro Villanueva will visit with the Ravens this week, which seemingly sets into motion an eventual trade of Orlando Brown Jr. from Baltimore. The Vikings, they have been linked to having interest. And I can't help but think as we get closer to this upcoming draft that this is almost deja vu in a sense compared to last year's draft. If you remember, the Vikings, they wanted to trade with the Washington football team for Trent Williams, a left tackle, went down to the wire in the second round, fell through, didn't work out. So the Vikings ended up selecting left tackle Ezra Cleveland, which you would think that would settle our left tackle issues if you're the Minnesota Vikings, but I digress. Fast forward to now, and if the Vikings were to pull off this trade, I can see it happening on draft night. I would start, if the Vikings haven't already, I would start talks with Baltimore on a swap. 14 for OBJ and pick 27, or worst case, you can add, the Vikings, they have 4 fourth-round picks, so add one of those 4 fourth-round picks for OBJ and pick 27. That's the key here, because if I'm Rick Spielman, I'm not going without a first-round pick in this year's draft, and I'm also not giving up a third-round pick or a second-round pick in next year's draft. But if you can pull this trade off, you get Orlando Brown Jr. from Baltimore. With pick 27, you can get, let's say, a Jalen Phillips to address edge. And even if you're not able to get back into the second round, if you can get Trey Smith, guard out of Tennessee, in the third round, then you're talking about 2 official pillars on the outside with Orlando Brown Jr. and Brian O'Neill. Add Trey Smith to the mix, and you're talking about 3 official gangsters on this Minnesota Vikings offensive line. Garrett Bradbury, I just feel like this is his prove-it year. And Ezra Cleveland at right guard, I just don't think it's going to hold up. But that's not his fault that the Vikings put him there. But you can see the gears spinning on Orlando Brown Jr. getting traded somewhere. But if you're Rick Spielman, you have to get the offensive line right once and for all this year. This Vikings offensive line has been a constant detriment to the success of this franchise. And look, if you don't get Orlando Brown Jr., it's not like you're out of options if you're the Vikings. Trade back from 14 to get a second-round pick and use 2 of your first 3 picks between day 1 and 2 on offensive line, and you can still make it happen that way. But either way, it's time for this Minnesota Vikings offensive line to look like they belong on the football field. That's on Rick Spielman. Next podcast will be on Wednesday. We'll see you then.